hi there folks. Hope that's all in shot now. I'm never sure how exactly to set up the camera, but I'm sure it'll come with some practice. Yeah, I've just finished a, what do you call it, a battalion or a company of British regulars for the Peninsular War, Napoleonics, and they're to the side here. I'm really chuffed with these. The thing with me is I want to go a bit further. I'm never happy with what would be just a tabletop standard. I want to take it a bit further, but it's all a matter of time, and I've certainly, well, not got that time if I want to really get on with things. I've got quite a few things that I want to get to grips with. A lot of the plastic and white metal mounting. But I've got these done. The only thing I found strange in this box, the Warlord Games Peninsular War British Line Infantry box, is there's only 4 men with the wings, you know, the flank company's wings. So I thought, you know, because when I've done the French, they've had 4 grenadiers, 4 voltigeurs, and that's made sense. But was it just a different setup with the British? I'm not aware of that really. Or have they not included maybe the light infantry, what do you call them in, yeah, the 4 flankers. I know that it would have been more in an actual battalion, but just, you know, the 4 figures aren't there really, so I assume that these are the grenadiers. It might help if I look at I've had some reference material to hand here. I've got the pamphlet from Warlord. Oh no, this is the sheet that's useful. So I've got that there. Yeah, what they've done there is they've got the Grenadiers and the Light Company. And the Light Company, I know what it is. What they did was you had 4 ones moulded with the shoulder pads, and then they came in a little, well, I've trimmed them off the sprue now, but you could add as many as you wanted. Not sure why they did that. Might just have been a limitation when they were producing the plastic sprues. I could go back and do that now, but I don't think I will, especially because these are skirmish, for a skirmish sized game like sharp practice. I don't think it matters all that much. If I was doing a battalion for Black Powder, I definitely would have represented the Grenadiers and the Light Company. But yeah, not entirely happy, but there we are. We've got those there. Hopefully they're sort of in focus. I've got a bit of a page going on Facebook that I sporadically add pictures to, and if you want to add me on Facebook, I've got a hobby account as well, which is worth following. But yeah, if you want to see detailed pictures of some things, I can probably give a more detail thing. I might switch the camera around a little bit just so we can look at in detail some of them, because I'm quite happy with these. Just turn the camera around. Got to forgive the jointiness there. So I've got these. I'm just going to shift the light a bit. That's a bit better. So as you can see, there's enough there. I have painted up 20, and yeah, fairly happy with those, I think. Just got some white card. The white has been a bit of a challenge, but I've followed some advice from various YouTubers, and I've done more of a light grey, and then added some off-white into it. I'm fairly happy with that. The only thing I haven't done is well, you wouldn't call them pom-poms, but they're extended pom-poms. They've got red and white on the top there, and I've only done the white so far. So I do need to remember to do that before I varnish them. And I think the yellow at least does need a highlight because it's looking dark at the moment. But I'm happy with the haversacks and everything. The bread bag I've done in a blend of khaki and German camo beige, and the canteens were deep sky blue, and because it's a lighter colour to begin with, after a soft tone wash they seem to be okay. I won't show any more of those because they are identical. I need to be a bit more careful when I'm painting the sort of fine white lines, but as you can see with him it's come out okay. Just a bit of patience. It is worth doing a first coat and a second coat for this silver grey from Vallejo. Went on fairly solid, I think. You don't really see much of the red coming through, which I was very impressed with, because it saves on a lot of time doing layers upon layers. In the past I have been doing something ridiculous like 4 coats of white and things, and as I've said before, the way to get around that is just not to paint white, just do very light greys, I suppose. And at most I would just be adding a little bit of off-white into it. I wouldn't really be using pure off-white even, because it's still too transparent, for me at least. The other models, I might as well show you whilst the camera's here the rest of the stuff I've been working on before I switch the camera around and just have a further discussion. What I have been thinking of is when I'm having discussion I need to be facing the camera, because it's a bit odd just to be looking at the same miniatures. I've got a bit of a sharp. Well, he's going to have to substitute for my sharp. I'm dying to order some Brigade Games sharp and sharps rifles. They've got rifleman, what's his name now? Harper. They've got Harper with his volley gun, and they just look stunning. They're Paul Hicks sculpts. I have to have them, but the shipping is going to be a killer, so I'm going to try and split them. Just trying to find someone who will split and order to the UK. The next part of the project is more French. I'll get those up for you now. Commission wise, I'm expecting a parcel tomorrow from Luke, and he's doing British Airborne, so I'm going to paint those up for him, his army, a few jeeps and a lot of Warlord Games plastics, which I've done before. So happy that I've got some steady work over this summer. It's really helping me just keep me ticking over and keeping me busy, because you can go a bit loopy when you're idle. Some more Frenchies. They're not completely done. I'm dithering. This is the kind of sad thing that I worry about, but I'm dithering over the pom-pom colours. I know that the Grenadiers and the Voltigeurs have specific colours, like red for the Grenadiers, green and yellow for the Voltigeurs, but just for my general infantry, I'm not sure what company to paint them. If it was a battalion, I'd know where I'd stand, because I'd probably do 4 figures per stand, with one stand representing one company in an individual colour, and I've done that before. But with these, because they're representing more of a one-to-one scale really, in a sharp practice or a chosen men style game, like I could represent just one company and just all paint them in one company's pom-pom colours, like just choose blue maybe, or just choose the orange one, you know, there's a few, or just green, and then have the supporting Grenadiers and Voltigeurs as you would then. I think that's what I'll do, rather than have a mix within a company. I don't think that makes sense. They'd all be a regular colour. And yeah, happy with these. It's difficult to know exactly when I've finished. There's always more you could do with Napoleonics. At least I've got to the stage of painting buttons and things with these ones. And yeah, really happy with the white especially. It's not perfect, but it does go for that sort of dirty white that I'm looking for, which has taken me a very long while to get to grips with. These models are a bit of a pride and joy for me, because they're all converted heads for the most part. All the fatigue caps have had to be hacked off and sort of meticulously glued back on. These are all Perry. Some of the heads came in handy when I was doing some Victrix conversions. Yeah, and perfect for the Peninsula War, because you don't want those bloody great shakos on your head. Probably go for a fatigue cap if you're in the heat of the Spanish plains. did go back in with light flesh highlights. What I have noticed, even the soft tone really affects colour in a big way. I'm not entirely happy with how strong soft tone is. What I would do rather is a light wash of Vallejo chocolate brown and just heavily dilute it just so it's there. There is a wash, but I'm not going to be doing much strong washes in the future, I don't think. What they have been useful is to develop that white colour. It's perfect to work up from, I think, so it's just going to take some practice. I've got 4 Confederate gunners to do, and an artillery piece which I started on. That's a Confederate piece for Martin, and alongside those, the Zouaves, which I've shown in the other video. There's a stand of Zouaves there. It's not enough for a unit, but I had the sprues off Martin. There were actually only 3 Zouaves, but the 4th in the back there I've made it from a spare body, and I thought, I don't think every single Zouave in the Confederate or Union Army would have been exactly uniformed as he was meant to. I'm sure there was some confusions or lacks of equipment. Seems to be the case in war, that there was some problem with supplies and things. And with me trying to be clever with building some sort of spectacular base for the Confederate artillery, I'm going to smash up some long burnt up matches, because I thought they would be good for a destroyed picket fence. Maybe just set them at an angle and paint them up and make sure they looked fractured enough for a broken picket fence, and the artillery could be in place just behind that then. I think I'll do a nice scenic base for Martin's Confederate piece there, because I haven't really done that. The artillery pieces in the past I've done very much as a, well, just wargaming fit sort of model. No, I want to do a proper job with that one. So you've seen the French. Flags wise, I'll just turn you around. Well, I think my camera said enough is enough for 18 minutes and said it's enough for one day, Reese, but I'm not finished. I've just got up the officers and NCOs. I'm not sure how much of that was seen in the last video. I'm not sure where it cut off exactly. I was just rambling about the British infantry and how they were meant to represent the South Essex with the yellow facings. I've got the officer commanding here of the battalion, or was it company, under something like sharp practice. I don't know why I've been saying sharp practice. I've got no intention of ordering a copy, though I'm sure it is a very good game. I'm going to be using basically a heavily adapted version of the Men Who Would Be Kings. I've got the rules off to one side here. And these were created by Napoleonic Rampant. I've got the hard copy there. And they've been written by someone called, well, obviously a username off some forum. Maybe a Marl W or Mayor LW. And I think I went on to the Daniel Mersey's, I think he has a forum. Yeah, I think so. So those can be found on there. If you can't find them, I'll email them to you, or I'll send a link through in the description box below. And I'm really keen to try these out just because I'm really familiar with the Men Who Would Be Kings, and it works. And it's a really good little skirmish game. Everyone is on a single base and you take casualties as they're taken. A regular line infantry unit is 12 figures, and that's 4 points in the Men Who Would Be Kings. Light infantry are more expensive at 6 points, but still 12 figures, but they've got abilities like evade and skirmish. Line infantry can't skirmish, so it's a lower level than Black Powder, if that makes sense. You're not facing, battalions aren't facing off against each other. You've got your rifles, which I've got painted up in 10 figures, and they're 6 points, the same cost as a light infantry unit, and cavalry are 8 figures, so that you can get some cavalry in there, 4 points, and guerrilla units of 12 figures. So I'd be tempted to paint up some gorilla units. I know there's a lot of good companies out there. There's one at Penarth, I'm not sure if it was Eagle Figures. When I was looking on the Eagle Figures website, they didn't look at all like the stand that was at Penarth. There must be two similar sounding manufacturers. So I've just painted up Eagle Figures for Graham. They didn't look the same as that company did at all, unless they produce different ranges, which are wildly different. I'll do a separate video for Napoleonic Rampant because it's worth being explored in full, I think. And I'll get out the figure collection I have and separate it into how the units would be separated under this rule system. I am tempted by that, definitely. Eventually I will get round to getting sharp practice because I like the narrative aspect of it. I did play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and things with my flatmates and we had a whale of a time with that. And yeah, it's definitely the narrative is the focus with these, whereas this would be more of a sort of wargaming thing, wouldn't it? Sharp practice takes like elements of everything. Before I finish the video, I'd like to show you some green jacket, what we're going to call them. For the very British Civil War there, I'll do a separate video for those because I can't be bothered to try and show them in front of this sort of low lighting, and I'll also do a separate video for the British officers. No, I won't. I'll include the British officers now. I've gone for this sort of longer format of video because I really enjoyed Wargaming with Gary's video the other day. It lets you paint for some half an hour or something, rather than, even though I really like the 5-minute videos and it does do a great job, most of us do 5-minute videos, but by the time you've actually picked up the brush, the video seems to end, and then you leave a little comment if you and yeah, the short format can be, it's just different, but I do like the long format as well. So I thought I'd make a few more of these over the coming weeks, and each time I make one I'm going to try and be more prepared rather than ramble. I've got some trees off to this side that I found in Antics, a model shop in Cardiff, which some of you guys might like to go if you're ever in Cardiff. It's in the arcade off of Bill's, which is a restaurant on the corner. There's some bizarre, is it a monument outside John Lewis, which is this huge needle and thimble. It's just utterly bizarre, but yeah, it's opposite there. Yeah, it's modern art, I think they call it, but I don't think much of it. Some trees with a texture paste that I've made, if I get those not to stick. The trees were very reasonable. They were between £1 to £2, which I thought was very good value. And they're not half bad. The texture paste has gone rock hard, but I've had to do half a CD at a time. I'll do the rest maybe tonight now. And the damaged Churchill, which you can see there. My mate Owen, the dog got to his platoon of Churchills, so we're going to try and save them into some damaged markers for bolt action. He's got some British parrots and I've got plenty of Germans, so hopefully we'll be getting a game of bolt action down the garage soon. I'll just show you the British officers before I end this video, and at least that's the Napoleonics for now shown. Yeah, I definitely need to do a few more videos, and they'll be in the shorter format because there's some specific things I want to show you. Just forgive me for 2 minutes. There we go. Hopefully you don't get too seasick. There we go. Again, improve the lighting. This is the kernel here. I need to go in with a few more areas, like their cuffs haven't been finished, the white lining and things haven't been done on them. This would be the kernel. These are noticeably darker because I've used a black undercoat, whereas most of my line infantry have just had a grey undercoat, which I'm for the most part sticking with. Some people really pull off a black undercoat. I find it quite hard work to paint up from a black undercoat. But it does lend itself to some layer painting, and it does leave you with some nice black lining. the drummer boy there is in his actual regimental colour. The yellow's a bit dark, but I would like to go back in with, I think what I've used is Middlestone, which is a very dark yellow, but it's been a good base coat for the yellow and I can always work up from it. Is there some sort of sapper or a grenadier there? I really have had the bug for Napoleonics at the moment, and this is basically finishing my collection for skirmish wargaming the Peninsular War. That said, I'll probably add endless amounts of bits and pieces across the years. It's the officer then, and the standard bearer who's going to have that flag, and I'll definitely try out some of Leon's tips for the flags and how you fill them up and things. That's very effective, I thought. And that's surely got to be a wrap for the extended chat. You know what I could do, rather than upload 2 videos now, I'm going to chuck them into an editing tool and blend it into 1 video. We'll see how that goes, and I honestly don't know where the cut was when my camera gave out, but I don't think it likes recording for longer than 18 minutes for some reason. But let's see how we can turn this around. Before I go, and save me adding these into a separate video, these are some very small MDF buildings from Charlie Foxtrot models. I've got a German camp, like a tent collection to paint up from them. They're resin, and I've got one miniature from Paul Hicks, an old one, to place in that as a sort of diorama. But here's the sentry box that they've done, and the outside toilet, and really nice those are. Not sure how to paint them up. I think that you can just prime them with a can and then either go in with some emulsion paint, or maybe I'll just get some cheap acrylics. But yeah, definitely worth building these up, and they're a couple of quid each, very cheap for some buildings. I'll definitely leave it at there for now, folks, and I'll probably come at you with another video very shortly. Okay, ta-da.